Going to do a history of Lilly. Lilly doesn't have any history. They just knew that to be the fact. And of course, when we looked a little beyond that, we found that almost was the case. There was no recorded history. There's nothing around, and that's where we started, and we decided to do a 200-year history. So we knew you have to have money and you have to have people, and we're talking about a town of 850 population and a township of about 900 population. Most of the volunteers are in the age group 25 to 45, are married, both parents working, 3 kids, each in a different school, each with 3 activities a week. Absolutely willing to help, no time to help. So we got together 60 volunteers from all the neighborhoods in the area and sent out 2 people to each house in the neighborhood. They presented the materials we had on the Historical Association, had the people think it over, went back a week later, and that's, as I mentioned in the little outline there, we went from 6 founding members in January of 2002 to 834 members in March of 2002. But again, we're back to all this being community, and that's what we went. Then the next thing was to raise money. We had to have some sort of a money fund to do the bicentennial in 2006. And you just can't have a series of bake sales and things of that nature. So we rounded up 12 sponsors, the American Legion being one, both of the councils, all the bank and the other institutions, and we had them each pledge $400 a year for 4 years. And that gave us a kitty of $20,000 to begin the celebration. And then, of course, we honored those donors on the calendar and moved ahead. I had mentioned but I had mentioned about planning for the 7 monuments. And of course, the first one was to be, or ties in here, the nobility of labor, the gentleman on the corner. And as it turned out, each of the other monuments in some way reflect some aspect of labor history. But then, just serendipitously, I was speaking down at the Blair County Genealogical Society about the beginnings of our organization, and someone came up with an article, 2 articles actually, from the Altoona paper that indicated this disaster that had occurred with the miners, with the railroad workers in 1903. The PRR was expanding an extra rail onto the line, and they went to Italy to recruit workers. They brought back the workers from Italy, family members, fathers and sons and cousins, and they housed them along the road in shacks while they were building this. And in November of '03, just a mile down from where the monument that we have is, they got paid on a Friday night and had a little celebration, went to bed. The fire broke out at 1 o'clock, and of course they were just shelves with straw covered, ticking. And most of the people got out. Then they realized that the money they had been paid were stuffed into the mattresses. So they began to go in. The others were still coming out. So 29 burnt bodies there. And just a total tragedy, which it turned out from the history, the town embraced this situation. Of course, there were Italians in town, but no relation to any, but they gave them a mass and a burial in a mass grave, and then it was forgotten. There was a iron cross put there with no inscription. It was overgrown with raspberry bushes and other things, and not to about 20 years ago uncovered. Still no one knew anything about it. Then these articles came which listed the names of the dead and everything. It gave us a wonderful opportunity for a fledgling association. We went to the Italians in a 3-county area, the associations and the individuals. We raised the money for the monument, for the Italian laborers. We had a big affair with the Mass, them all being from Italy were Catholic, and with the singers and the Knights of Columbus and everyone in, then a big breakfast with the various speakers. So it was just one of those wonderful things that made history real, and the importance, and the fact is that it was forgotten yet so important. We did a monument up in the cemetery to recognize them also, and then proceeded from there, and then did do the labor in '04. But just to try to give you a flavor of what this whole historical thing has meant to the town and the importance of the involvement in everyone, and then to get back to the fact of being recognized for what we have done, and then to know that we can serve as an example for others that are frightened by the fact we only have 1,000 people in town or 1,200 people or something like that, so we can't do anything. If you get everyone involved, you can. And down the line, we do want to give a credit to everyone here. Yeah. Well, you know, you go ahead and introduce them.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's kind of my melancholy duty here because we had originally Russ Gibbons, our journal agent, who did the wonderful journal that really was very helpful to the Lilly Society, and Russ was just absolutely blown away by this entire what had happened here, and the example for working class communities and that have been developed here, and he would have very much wanted to do this. And last night he had a stroke and was life flighted back to Pittsburgh, and so it's really with kind of heavy heart that I'm here to speak. But he wanted to he couldn't find a copy of the poem. But he wanted to remember his great friend, John Powderly. And John Powderly was the great nephew of Terence Powderly, the founder of the Knights of Labor. And Russ Gibbons and John Powderly worked together for many years at the Steelworkers. And they were also great friends of John Brennan. And we're going to award the John Brennan Award. So it was very appropriate that John Powderly's poem, Death Has No Dominion, which was often delivered at grave sites by John Brennan. John Brennan, our first president of the Pennsylvania Labor History Society, United Food and Commercial Workers, right, John Worker? Yes. And an eloquent speaker who could conjure up ghosts out of the ground, and had a great love for John Siney, the founder of the first successful United Mine Worker local union and first contract in coal in the anthracite. And I remember John speaking about Siney and at Siney's grave and at Homestead and by John Morris's grave, and I remember the mists over the graveyard, and I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about all of this. But the refrain from Powderly's poem was, I guess, came from Dylan Thomas, the Welsh poet, "Death has no dominion." And I think that's very, very appropriate. George Pinky was reminding me of some of the words we were trying to remember, and one of the lines is they robbed the children of their childhood and made them men before they were boys, about the breaker boys and the conditions in the coal mines before John Siney in the Union, and then of course busted by the false Molly Maguire hysteria that was trumped up against the Irish, and 20 of them were hanged. I think the key thing is that Lilly doesn't have any history. I remember being in Sweden with Marty Moran. We went there to look at worker safety and health. The Swedes had invited a labor delegation on the 350th anniversary of the Swedish implantation in the New World. And the Swedish labor movement felt so sorry for the Americans who were getting their butts kicked. They invited 30 of us over there. And I remember going, and one of their key things is the folk schools there, where they teach labor history. And the motto of the folk school is dig where you stand. And that's what this Lilly Washington Township Historical Society, Jim Saloni and all of them have dug where they stood and found a rich, rich mine of gold and history and of roots that go deep. And it's amazing, if you dig where you stand, and almost anywhere where you stand, there's some history certainly, and in many places there are very, very deep history, and I don't think any community has done a better job of exhibiting that and showing that and demonstrating that, and I was very proud to be a part of trying to praise them and get them the award. I guess the key thing that Brennan always emphasized was the preservation of memory, and that if you let it all slide, it dies out and it's gone. We lose its grasp, we lose our bearings, we lose our roots, we lose our soul. And so that's why what you have done, what this community has done, is so important as an example. And we're going to continue to go around the state and praise you and tell people to come to Lilly. So. The Pennsylvania Labor History Society, the award, the John Brennan Award for Excellence in Fostering an Understanding of Labor History, the quote is, "What dreams may grow as young vines planted in the spring, their roots thrust down in the deepest soil of truth, till workers all the fruits of understanding bring, born from our borders in the hands of youth." And all of us feel with such intensity how desperately we need to hand this history, these memories, these truths to our young. And the other quote is, "Freedom doesn't come like a bird on the wing. You've got to work for it, fight for it, day and night for it. Every generation has to win it again. Pass it on to your children, brothers. Pass it on to your children, sister." And that's from The Inheritance, the great film written about done on the labor movement. So the John Brennan Award for Excellence in Fostering an Understanding of Labor History. We said we're going to start it out by we're going to give it to Jim Saloni. He said, absolutely no way. This is the Lilly Washington Historical Society. So we'd like to invite Jim and to invite all the board members up here and receive this award.
Please. Yeah, all the Historical Society clubs. Yes.
This is your cup.
Yes.
Shuts off. You have to go back to off. Okay. All right.
Let's give them the power clap. Woo!
Hear that?
Did you hear those railroaders? Yoo-hoo! They're here.
I'm afraid to ask you.
None of you are wanted by the police, are you?
Well, we'll be after
Associating with us, I don't know. John Brennan would have been proud, believe me.
Absolutely.
Russ Gibbons, too. Thank you
Very
so much,
nice.
you guys.
Very nice. Beautiful.